What's up, friends? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy time zone. Welcome to another stream on Identity Crisis. This is our Learn module. So today we're going to be covering app registrations. I hope everyone's well. As you can see, I'm driving solo for one more time. JP is otherwise busy, so I am taking the honors of driving this for a few more days, and then we'll be back to our normal schedule. So bear with me while I try to get you through this as well. And then at 9 o'clock Pacific time, we're going to why is the audio only left? I don't know. It shows okay on my end, so I wonder if, give me a second. Well, I'm not using Restream. I don't know, Stefan. I don't know. It must be one of these things. Maybe it will fix itself later. It's been that way for the last few streams. I wonder if my audio is messed up somehow. Like my mic is unbalanced or whatever, because when I look at my Yeti properties, yeah, it seems to be okay. If that's the case, then I need to fix it, but probably off the stream at some point. I need to check it. I don't know why. Thanks for letting me know, though. Oh, God. That's not the best way to start the stream. Like, your audio is not properly done. Advanced audio properties. Let's see. It's properly balanced. Let's see. Yeti seems to be okay. Like, I'm looking at my balance right now and it seems to be fine. So unless you know something I don't know, then you put JP on the right, it balances out. Yeah, that's a good point. We have to balance ourselves out. I really have no idea why I cannot. So do you say it only comes from the left? I wonder if I do this. Is that better now? Is that better now? Can you hear me okay? Or is it even worse? Check, 1 2 1 2. Nope, still the same. Sounds lovely. How about now? Is it better now? Is it even worse? I'm just playing with the balance. While you're talking, move the wire connection to the mic. Well, it's all USB, my friend, so it's not like, oh, it's better. Oh, but the audio volume is low. Oh, why? Why is that low? Let me see. Maybe my... How about now? Is it better? Very low. What? Why is that? See, I love troubleshooting audio settings in the morning. How about that? That's audio access. Same, very low. You know what? I haven't changed anything. That's the weird thing. So it was like that yesterday as well. Is there a setting somehow? I mean, it's maxed out on my over here. So on my my OBS, it's maxed out, so I don't know what else can change. See, I'm an OBS noob. It shows, right? What else can I change? So now at least it's balanced between the two channels, but it's very low. Maybe I should scream while I'm speaking. How about that? What the hell is wrong with my audio today? What audio interface am I using? I am just using the standard OBS. You can still hear me on the left. Is that bearable? Can we do the stream like that, or will it be awful? Was it like that yesterday as well? And the other days? Nobody complained. That's so sad. Wait, let's see. Let's see if I go into my Yeti. I wonder if I can change the settings. Is there an option to change the scale filtering? Just troubleshooting audio issues now. How about that? Add screenshot filters properties. Yeah, it doesn't give me anything in the properties. That's the problem for the Yeti. Hiding mixture. I don't want to hide. Transform. There's no transformation here. Order. No. Set color. There's no color. Properties. Filters. There's no audio filters at all. Should be just normal. Okay, I can still miss it. Yeah, I probably need to get a mixed board at some point. I get it. But the question is why. I mean, I can see on the mixer, on the audio mixer, that it's coming fine. Let me see, properties, advanced audio properties. Yeah, it's 1, 2, 1, 2. You know what? I think it's an issue with I think it's probably an issue with my Yeti. Maybe I need to fix my Yeti. Right now, I think there's no left coming out. Can you hear the sound any better? Like it's all the way max to the right. No? Only right now. Okay. Well, apparently it needs to be super balanced. What are you doing right now? It's on the right, but very low. This is what I'm doing here. I've got my audio settings in OBS, and I'm messing with the balance here. See? It's what I'm doing. Now back to the left. Well, I think it's automatically doing that. It's super weird. It could be my microphone, you know. So if that's the case, I might change my microphone for... Select the mono option. Where's the mono option? Oh, mono. Okay. I see. How about now? Any better? Did we fix it? Yes, I saw that. Is it better now? Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Better. Now you're centered. Hey. But it's still low. But it's not very loud. Still very low. God damn. Well, that's what I need to change. Is there anything else I need to change in OBS? Again, very noob. What else can I change? I mean, there's nothing else to change here, right? I mean, that doesn't matter now because it's all mono. But still very low. Okay, better. Okay, I will leave it like that for now. I'll try to do the stream. Bear with me while I do this. And that's better. Okay, well, maybe it took time to come in. Now it's perfect. Okay, well, you know what? For next time, it's all about using the mono. Thank you, friends. Troubleshooting live on the stream. Because why not? Okay, we can do this now. Although, considering that most of you here probably know what I'll be talking about, you might want to tune out. So today we're going to be talking about app registrations, and there's not really much to cover here. If you have been following our identity crisis series, we went from the very beginnings of identity and what is identity. And slowly we progressed the stream to cover tokens, to cover flows, to cover protocols. And now we're getting into the specifics of the Microsoft identity. Now that we covered all the general information about what is identity. Thank you, BSD guy. Mission complete. Thank you very much. Yes, we did it. We're ready to ship it. Now I know what my settings need to be. So for next time, you won't have to bear with me spending 5 minutes sorting out my audio settings. Identity. It's a mess. It's a mess. And hopefully over the past few weeks, we managed to demystify quite a few of the notions of identity, quite a few of the terminology. There is a lot of esoteric language in identity, and hopefully we are at the point now that you guys can follow along. So last week we spun up our tenant. We spun up Azure tenants, and we saw different ways of getting there. So if you missed that episode, make sure to catch it on YouTube. aka.ms/45 /YouTube. So let me put it on the chat. We have a dedicated identity crisis series there, which means that you can go and 45 not crisis. That means you can go and catch up everything from the beginning. It is YouTube. There you go. And today I'm going to actually tell you how, or at least when it comes to implementing identity for your solutions, what is the first part that you need to do to make it work? There are two main parts when it comes to authenticating with the Microsoft Identity Platform within your apps. The first part is going into your Azure AD tenant. As you can see, I have it open over here, and registering an app. That app is very similar to app registrations that you might have done in the past if you had to work with Facebook or Twitter or Google or any other service that provides identity. So if you wanted to directly sign in with Google, you have to go into the portal. There's a developer portal usually for these services where you go and register your intent. Very similar to those services, the Azure Active Directory and B2C, business to consumer, offer you the ability to go and register an application to show your intent. And you do this by going into the portal, the Azure AD portal, aad.portal.azure.com, or via the Azure portal, portal.azure.com, and then clicking on the Azure AD blade or service, and it takes you to the root. So this is where you get the overview of your portal and your Azure AD with all the information and what you can interact with. And we're mainly interested in the app registration. Most of the developers will probably spend time playing with app registrations. There's a slight possibility that you might go into enterprise applications, and we'll talk about that a little bit once we cover the main topics of the app registrations and where the enterprise applications sit. What does it mean? But in most cases, you're going to be spending most of your time in the app registrations. And as you can see here, I have quite a few app registrations. Important note, we try to clarify and probably iterate that every chance we get. But if you are building, the second part of building identity systems is once you do your app registration, you need to use a library to go and implement the code. And up until this point, we had two libraries. I think we still have two libraries, so it's not up until this point. Up until June 30th, 2022, you will not be able to use ADAL, our older library. And the recommendation, even today, if you're building apps, is to use MSAL. So if you have older solutions that use ADAL, please be aware that it's going to go away in a year and a half, in a year and 3 months. So make sure, that you go and remove that dependency and you move your applications to MSAL. Please, Sean, do not recommend these things, not even as a joke. So Sean is saying, is it safe to go and create a service principal and having it as an owner on the subscription? And no, it's not. I mean, you could, and I've seen people doing it in the past. I think by default, if you do Azure AD SP create for RBAC, it will create it with contributor rights, not owner rights. But please don't do that. Service accounts should be as limited as possible in terms of permissions. And ideally, if you can have an account that also signs in with, contributor rights, for example, rather than full-blown owner rights, sometimes it's better. And for those of you that use Azure quite a bit and you might be creating and deleting resources, using locks is also something extremely useful. Policies and locks, when you create resources, enforce policies, and when you're deleting resources, having locks is ideal, because I know people that have deleted stuff in the past. Oh, there's a white glow over here on that side, which is weird. I think it's coming from the light. Apparently we have sun. I'm not used to the sun, so this is now reflecting on my green screen. Okay, that's a cool effect, isn't it? I wonder if we could do something else. Yes, the whole point of service principals is to have limited scopes, but you're jumping the gun here, Sean. We're still talking about app registrations. We haven't covered service principals, but we will do that very, very soon. So app registrations are you coming into the portal and showing your intent. Don't apologize, it's fine. It's part of the conversation. I just don't want to confuse people because we started talking about app registrations and suddenly we switched to service principals, and if they're following along, they're like, what the hell is a service principal? Why do I need to know about that? Okay, let's go and create a new app registration because there's no better way of showing things rather than doing them. The first thing you need to provide is a name, some kind of name, any name, it doesn't matter. Make it meaningful and make it in a way that maps to your application. So if you're creating, say, a Blazor app, for example, so Blazor web front end, something like that. You can also have spaces, so you can say Blazor web front end. This is mainly an identifier. It's not used for anything in the code usually. So make it meaningful and make it easy to find and identify. Then next, you need to decide what kind of supported types you're going to have. Now, we haven't talked about single tenancy and multi-tenancy yet, But if you're creating applications with Azure Active Directory, it is usually for line of business application, for enterprise solutions, for your developers, for your employees, or for staff, or for anyone that works in your organization. So at Microsoft, anyone that has at Microsoft.com address, and if I create this one, they will be able to sign in. You can also create a multi-tenant app registration, which means that I can create my app registration, and then if let's say I had something like Office or Azure DevOps, then other organizations can also sign in to that application, and that will create a service principal, it will create a copy, it will create an enterprise application in their tenant where they can manage the permissions themselves. We will cover that in a very the second part of the identity crisis episode today. But for now, we're focusing on my organization. I want to only allow people from my organization. Now you'll also notice that we added the ability to also use your MSA account, your Microsoft account, if you want to sign in with your @Live or at Hotmail or at Outlook. Does anyone have a Hotmail account yet? I changed mine to Outlook because I thought it was cool, and now I regret my choice because it would have been cooler having the Hotmail address. Decisions, you know. And then finally, you can also enforce personal Microsoft accounts only. So if you only want MSA, you have a Hotmail, Stefan? Nice, man. See, I don't know why I thought it would be cool to move to Outlook. In fact, I was like, I want to get my Outlook now, and I did it, and now I regret it so bad. Must be a badge of honor having an Outlook or a Hotmail or Live predated the Hotmail, didn't it? Okay, everyone is cool here apart from me. Apparently, Sean also has his Hotmail account. Fine. You should have kept your Hotmail as a second Hotmail. I know. But then again, how many emails am I going to use and have? I'm trying to move away from my Gmail as well to just use Outlook these days. Okay, redirect URI. Usually you can leave this blank if you don't know what you're doing. There are options. There's a drop down, so you can say I might want to create a public client or a web app or a single page app. But usually I know most people will skip it and then they will configure that later on, and we'll see how you can configure these things. So we have the information we need. In fact, we'll go back and say just my organization. So single tenant, multi-tenant, and MSA only. Okay, there you go. It's super fast, very, very quick. Some important information up here. You get a display name, the client ID or application ID. Usually most of the code that we have references that as client ID. So just make sure you can easily copy that to the clipboard. The tenant ID is what identifies your specific tenant. If you're using a test tenant like I am cmatchcast.onmicrosoft.com. I am not cool enough to have my own custom domain. You can add your own custom domain if you want to. But I'm a cheapskate, so I just went with the defaults. I know JP has his own custom domain to look cool. So that domain name also corresponds to that. So sometimes when you say point to a specific tenant, we talked about tenants last week, in your code, you can use either the full domain name or you can use the GUID. And in code, you usually have to pass the tenant ID somewhere. So this is where you get it from. The object ID is the object ID of our app registration, which is different to the application ID. And then it says what it supports, what are the direct URIs, and there are links to take you easily there. So with that, what we are going to do now is we can do quick starts, which is a fantastic way to get started. So I'm going to show you, should we do quick starts or should we do the standard way? Let's do quick starts. Okay, so I am very new to identity. I have no idea what I'm doing. So now I need to implement that. And I can come into my quick start, which is up here. I know that not many people have seen this in action. So the quick start actually allows you to quickly edit, configure, and download a sample with your settings so you can get off the ground super quickly. What does that mean? Let's say I want to create a single page application, and it's nice here because it gives us some examples. We added React, we have Angular, Then we have Blazor WebAssembly, since it is a front-end framework. And we have JavaScript authentication code flow and JavaScript implicit flows. We talked about flows 2 episodes ago. So ideally, you don't want to stick with implicit. You want to move to auth code flow with Pixie support. So we're going to use this one as an example to drive the experience. So let's say, again, I don't know much about JavaScript. That's not a lie. That's true. And here it says you will need an Azure subscription, which you already have. You will need Node.js, which I have installed on my machine. And you need Visual Studio Code or another code editor. It doesn't have to be Visual Studio Code. And you can quickly go and download them from the links here. Now, the next thing it's going to do, it's going to make changes to the app registration for me. And it's going to add a redirect URI. This redirect URI is where my ID token will be returned once I successfully sign in. So in my application, I will run my JavaScript app. I will get redirected, or a pop-up will be presented to me to sign in. That will take me to Azure AD to sign in. And then once I successfully sign in, it will return my ID token back to this redirect URI. This needs to match my app settings. So if my Node application was running at port 5000 or 3007, then that redirect URI would need to match. That also protects you from getting your token passed around, because it can only come back to one specific redirect URI that you have configured, or the ones that you have configured, because we'll see how we can change that. And that's the minimum change that we have to do. So let's make the update. And at this point, we're ready to go and download the sample. So let's go download the sample. It will come down here. So let's open this one. Let me copy it to my projects. And I already have one here, but it's fine. We can overwrite that. Paste. Replace the files. All of them. Wipe them out. And why did I make the search so big here? I don't want the search so big. There you go. You can actually open the command line from there. And now I'm going to do code. So I'm going to open code in that specific directory, just to see what we got inside our solution. Ha! See, this is a black theme for some weird reason. So I changed to the white theme, and it's black here, black in the terminal, because obviously the terminal is black, and I think my PowerShell is set up to black. Hey, Bruce Lane, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining us. We're talking about app registrations, and we just went through the, what did we go through? We went through the registering an app using the shortcut. We're using the fast, what was it? What do we call it? Quick starts. Yes, using the quick starts. A lot of code over here. You can ignore 90% of what's there. The important bit is the server.js, which tells us that we're running on port 3000, which is the default for Node. But apparently in other samples that we do, we use different ports just to confuse people. So we have this port, which, remember, it matches the redirect URI that we just configured in our app registration. And then there are 2 files that are very pertinent or very specific to identity. Inside our app, we have, let me make this bigger. Inside our app, we have the auth config. Now, this is where we pass the information that will tell our authentication code, the MSAL library, where to go to sign in. Remember, you can have multi-tenant apps and single-tenant apps. This is a single tenant, so we need to tell which tenant we're going to use. So if I put this on the side, and if I bring up our app registration, if I go to our overview, let's see what we have here. Let's hide the files. Client ID. Remember, we talked about the client ID? These 2 match. So that's great. That's a good start. I did not start from a repo. We started directly from the portal, and I did the Azure app for Quick Start. Yes. So no GitHub Quick Starts. Just going through app registrations, what they are and why should you use them. So here you are. You have your MSAL config with the client ID. We have the the authority. It says login Microsoft.com, but it points to my tenant. And remember, we talked about that. So B55F is my B55F So that's my authority. So the code knows where to point stuff. And then the redirect URI, which needs to match the redirect URI that we have configured here, which is under authentication. Kaboom. Lovely. So here we are, these two match. There are some settings about the cache where the cookie is going to end up and how it is going to be shared, or if it's going to be shared across my tabs on my browser and my sessions. And then the other file that is important to us, it's the auth pop-up. Now the sample is fantastic because it offers you two different options. It offers you a pop-up and a redirect. Now some browsers do have issues with pop-ups. Therefore, you need to look into whether your solution will need to use a redirect or a pop-up if you get stuck. I think Safari Mobile, for example, may have some issues. So if you are building mobile apps, or if your app is going to be used in a mobile app, then be aware that you may have to do a redirect if that's your target audience. So here we're gonna default to the pop-up because that's what the recommended way is. So a pop-up. And then let me close this one down. There is not much code in there's more code to configure the UI than is to run the app. So the very first thing that you have to do is actually get an MSAL client. So we're instantiating our MSAL object. This is the library that will do the authentication, the sign in and the sign out. The select account is once we have signed in, we need to select an account, so we'll skip that one. The handle response is what happens once we sign in, and that's for changing the UI in effect. So let's go, sign in, right? Let's remove the comments because there's way too much stuff here. As you can see, it's literally 3 lines of code and catching the error. So we present the login pop-up to the user, and then we handle the response, and then we either handle the response and change the UI to reflect that, or we throw an error message, like you try to sign into the wrong tenant, or your account does not have permissions to go there, or something else happened, or misconfiguration. And then for the logout or the sign out, it's even less code. For the logout requests, you just say MSAL, get account, and then just call the logout. I mean, it is literally 10 lines of code to do a sign in and sign out. And as I said, everything else here is either for changing the UI or for getting access tokens for accessing the graph, because most of our samples tend to call the graph as well to show you a little bit of an end-to-end scenario. Okay, I don't want to show too much code because next week we'll be implementing these things. So I just wanted to show you that if you've never used app registrations before, then using the quick start, if you're using the quick starts, then you get everything or most of the stuff that you need. Now there might be a case where you say, I don't want to use the quick start, I just want to come and implement something. So here again, we know that we're only supporting a single tenant. You know, so that we actually have the ability now to change the multi-tenanted app, but we cannot change to MSA support. So we cannot support Microsoft accounts if we wanted to. But let's say we created that and we didn't use the quick start. Now we can come and add the platform. And these are the applications that we can support, which in effect is everything. We have web. That means anything that runs on the server. ASP.NET Core, ASP.NET older stuff. Can I say older stuff, or am I going to be banned? Sorry, where did you go in the Azure portal to create this? Oh, easy peasy, right? If I go to home, that's the root, then I go into Azure Active Directory, and then inside the app registrations, for those ones that have just joined, or for Bruce, then you find your, which one how did we name ours? I can't remember what we named ours. What was it? You know, we can, what did we name ours? Was it like Blazor or something? Blazor demo? Or, you know what? Let's go and create a new one. It doesn't matter. So learn module test. So we're back to where we started. Yes, Azure AD App Registrations. So here we did the quick start. Now we're not using the quick start method anymore, which is a fantastic way to get you started and get all the code wired up for you, so you can press F5 or npm start and we'll do it for you. But now we're going the different route, which is using the ad platform. So in the ad platform, we show you the different options that you have. Yeah, no worries, Bruce. So we have web, which is anything that runs on the server, Java, Kotlin, Python, anything that is serving from a server. Single page apps is anything that is running on the client. Any JavaScript framework, more or less, or Blazor that runs, or Blazor WebAssembly, or WebAssembly, anything that can produce WebAssembly that runs on the browser, it's technically a single page app. And MSAL browser is the main library, but we also give you libraries for React and Angular. I wish we had one for Vue. Maybe if you guys upvote the Vue library, we can get a Vue one as well. If not, we do have a sample that shows you how to integrate MSAL with Vue, which is great. And then we have mobile and desktop applications. So this may get a little bit confusing now. So we have Objective-C, Swift, and Xamarin. This is for iOS. So you can build directly with the native languages, Objective and Swift, or you can use Xamarin. I don't know where React Native falls here. I don't know if anyone has done anything with React Native, but I would guess that React Native probably falls into the realm of single page apps, so MSAL browser. Then we have Android. You can use Java. You can use Kotlin, which is a new way. And then you can use Xamarin. Xamarin, again, allows you to write once and deploy to multiple places, which is great. And then down here, you also have mobile and desktop applications. So here we have Windows, UWP, console, and console app on any language. We have IoT. We have limited devices. I don't know what a limited device is. Maybe somebody else can tell me, but I haven't done anything with limited devices yet. And classic iOS and Android. So there you have it. And for all these, we have the corresponding libraries to allow you to go and build stuff. So for web, let's say we are going to use .NET Core for this example. Then you need to pass a redirect URI. And because React is a SPA, well, React Native is the one that, I know there's React JS, and then there's React Native that allows you to build for mobile and desktop. So I don't know what you would use there. I think it's still JavaScript, so probably MSAL browser. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so since we're doing .NET, the default port is HTTPS, localhost, and then 5001. React Native is JS. Yes. Okay. I haven't done any development with React Native. I would be keen to see how it integrates with. Are people still using React Native? Flutter, for example, I think it's super big these days for mobile development. Xamarin is super big, and then obviously Swift, Kotlin, and the latest frameworks for native deployment if you want to. Oh, Ionic React. Is Ionic the same as Cordova? So a point of order, a question call in, does this mean that there has to be a separate app registration for every client platform? I know there's, so if I have to build two web and then build to iOS, I'm creating two different app registrations. The recommendation is yes. Yes. I would keep things clean because you might have different permissions and different implementations per client app. So the recommendation is they use different app registrations for different platforms and different clients. Okay. It used to be Cordova. Now they've created Capacitor for native plugins. Man, and you have to use VS Code for that, right? Because I remember there was support for Visual Studio to build Cordova, but we moved it to VS Code. We're using a different tool, Bruce. Okay, we have the redirect URI, but this will not work for .NET Core because in .NET Core we also expect OID, what is it? Sign in. What is it? OIDC sign in? I can't remember. Can you believe that? Of course I can't remember. Let's open a recent one. File, open recent. Graph team, is that the one that we did yesterday? That was the one we did yesterday. Don't save, it's fine. I can't remember. It's early in the morning. I need more coffee. It's sign in OIDC. There you go. JP would be ashamed of me now, not remembering that. to the top of my head. There you go, sign in OIDC. We talked about flows, and we talked about why you should not be using implicit grant. So we don't have to use implicit grant with .NET Core if we don't want to. There's a setting in the startup.cs that can switch the MSAL library and the Microsoft Addendum Web library to use authorization code with Pixie. So that is there, and then I can just press configure. So now you can see that we have our redirect URIs. But you can also see that we have multiple add URIs. So if I were to test this app in multiple environments, my local environment is localhost, but let's say https test.com, and sign in OIDC, for example, then I could also do that, right? And I can press save. So you can have multiple URIs depending on the environment. Now, there is a school of thought here that you might want to have different app registrations for different environments. But in my experience, in most cases, you will create an app registration, you will set up the permissions and the roles, and then you will propagate that information across multiple environments. So I think it's an overkill to have different app registrations, unless you're doing some testing. And so no more videos picking up the stream inception. Okay. What is VTT? Virtual TT. Oh, you're talking about your stuff. Okay. 10 for don't work for 10 that may have some bearing on naming convention for apps that they're otherwise duplicate. Yeah, I mean, you can say my app does web, my app does Blazor, my app does this mobile or whatever. Okay, so we have the multiple web URIs. Now, yesterday I was asked, why can we not have multiple logout URLs if that's the case? And that was a very valid question. So if I am testing on the local environment, voice to text. If I'm testing on the local environment, then I want to have localhost 5001 for signing in. And then if it was the sign out, it would have been localhost HTTPS localhost 5001. And since it says sign out OIDC. But I cannot do the same for my other environments, which is annoying. And that was the sad realization yesterday. I need to figure out why we don't support multiple logout URLs, but for now, you can only have one. There can only be one. Okay. So multiple, which is fantastic. And then this is how you add the platform. And ideally, you want to keep one platform per app. And down here, you have advanced settings. This is when you use public client flows. So web by default is confidential clients because nobody can mess with your server-side code. Yeah, exactly. See, there can only be one. I need some to get my Stream Deck to get some soundboard settings there. Although the last time we did that with JP, we got banned, or our video got flagged by YouTube because there was some proprietary copyright issue. So you need to be super careful with the sounds that we play. So down here, you only switch these on if you are planning on using things like mobile apps. Yeah, I know. We had to go and cut the videos out. So yeah, the audio part that had the 15 seconds of silence, I think he was playing the Jeopardy waiting sound. We had to wait for it. There you go. So this is the basic stuff that you'll be doing here. Now, let's see what else is in an app registration. We have clients. Yeah, it's okay. I don't want to save the changes. We have certificates and secrets. If you are going to, if you're in a confidential client, like say a web app, and you need to go and grab tokens, then you can add a secret. That secret can be generated down here. We'll create one now. Please don't dox me. It will add a default name, so you don't have to worry about names, which is fine, unless you want to have very prescriptive names. You can copy the secret from here. Very important, once you navigate away from this page and come back, that code will not be accessible to you. So that value you need to copy to something safe. So here, ideally you want to copy it to a notepad and then add it to your code or straight into your code. Don't copy the ID. They changed the UI recently, so I went, and by default I would always select the last one, and I went for the ID. The ID doesn't do anything. However, if you are going to use secrets, then why not just use a certificate? So you can create a self-signed certificate, or you can have a proper certificate. You can upload it here. Do I have one? I don't think I have any certificates anywhere. So let's see, somewhere in my code projects, do I have? Oh, I do have. Oh, that's my Linux file, so don't want that. But you can easily create a self-signed certificate. You upload the certificate up here, you get a thumbprint. And then as long as the certificate is installed on the target machine and you wire up your library to go and pick up that secret and pass it into the instantiation of the MSAL client, then as long as the certificates match and you have the right thumbprint, it will allow you to authenticate. And certificates are the recommended way because it means that your secrets don't need to be passed around, and you don't have to worry about new members in the team coming, getting the secrets, not storing them correctly, or for things running out, or you're missing your expiration date and what have you. I think there's also a way to integrate with Key Vault, but I haven't tried that. That would be an interesting integration. Not here, but in your app. Okay, next, token configuration. This is for adding additional claims and group claims. This is for, in effect, changing the information that gets passed down to your tokens. And you can do it for both ID and access tokens and SAML. So if you are signing in users, it will be the ID token. If you're grabbing access tokens for your apps or additional apps, then you can pass the information here. So this is where you can change the content that you pass down to your tokens, which is great. API permissions. Now we have just created a front end. It makes no sense to have, well, it will have API permissions, so you can add more permissions here if you want to. By default, we have the user.read, which is part of the graph. And this is where you get information about the current user if you were to call the me endpoint. But by default, we support OpenID, profile, and offline, which means that we also provide you with a refresh token. So here you can go and add permissions to, say, an API. So if I had an API, okay, let's start from the beginning. You can add permissions. What was the protocol you said you have 1 year or less to change? No, it's not a protocol, it's the secrets. So if I go back to secrets. Certificates usually have an expiration date, so you need to be careful about that. And when you create a secret, we always recommend that you set it for 1 year. Do not set your secrets to never. It's better to roll your secrets. But since rolling secrets is something you have to remember and come back, certificates is a lot easier because you ideally have a centralized way of managing your certificates and rolling them out, i.e. Key Vault. So you want to use Key Vault instead of that. And you can automate the process of uploading the Key Vault to Azure AD. No, I did not say anything about SAML. Oh, I thought it was something else, and we are to use SAML. No, man, I didn't say use SAML, please. OpenID Connect and OAuth 2. This is where we are today. This is where you should be as well, please. So we talked about API permissions, adding a new permission. By default, we have graph. It's always there when you create a new app registration. You can remove it if you don't want it. And then there are different APIs you can select. Since you're in Azure AD, you have access to everything that the Microsoft ecosystem offers you. So we have Azure, we have Graph. Graph is the gateway to most of your data. You can have Azure Service Management, OneNote, Office 365, Yammer, Skype for Business. Does that even work? Still works. And then you have other Microsoft APIs like Azure Bats and Azure Data Explorer, Azure DevOps. You can get a token to go and interact with your Azure DevOps. You can get access to your Key Vault and manage your Key Vault. And there's a whole slew of information and some legacy APIs. That's the Azure Active Directory Graph. Please don't use that. Everything should be on MS Graph now. However, let's say, so this is where, this is a lot of all the APIs that have been configured. That's my custom ones, and that's everything that has been recorded. So there's some other stuff like call recorder. I don't even know what that is. I haven't done anything with these, so just know that they're there. right? There's more, load more, give me more. Wow, there's more. How much more? And they're not in an alphabetic order, so that's good luck, but I think you can search, right? Okay, you can search. And then finally, my APIs. This is usually the most important one. So usually graph or something in Azure, and then you jump straight into my APIs. So as you can see here, every time I create an app registration that is for an API and exposes permissions that I need to consume, they will appear up here. So as you can see, most of them have some kind of an API in the name, which makes it easy to identify. And here you can see I have APIM, backend, protected MVC API. So if I click on this one, it says, well, this specific API exposes some permissions. And if you are going to get an access token in your app to be able to call this API, then you need to select this permission. There could be multiple permissions, by the way. So it doesn't require admin consent, which is great. So I can add that permission now. And off we go. This is brilliant. I guess Skype for Business still works somehow. It's on my machine and I cannot get rid of it. Sorry, Taylor & Codes. I think our builds have removed it some time ago, so we don't have it anymore. So API permissions are things that allow you to communicate between your one app and the other app. So I have a client app that needs to call an API. This is where I need to come and configure that information. This is where I create this association. So my client app will know and be able to access tokens. And then we have expose an API. So if I were building an API, this is where I come to add my scopes. You know, the scopes I used before for that custom API. This is where I can go and create a similar one. So first it will create an app ID. Now it doesn't have to be like that. It can be my custom API URI. Save and continue. So you can edit that. Doesn't have to be a god awful good. And then here you can say what kind of scope name do you want to give it. Usually most of the samples go with access as user, but you can call it whatever you want. User.access.my.data, right? So here you say who can consent, just the admins, which means normal users won't be able to consent and provide information, but no, we want everyone to do that. Then this is some kind of a messaging which will appear on the window that the users are presented. Please consent so that I can access your data. And then it's typically copy paste, because I am not careful enough. We want it to be enabled and then adding a scope. So that scope now will appear over here. You can easily copy it from there. And any app that needs to consume that, that scope will need to connect to my API like we did before in the API permissions. However, it is slightly uncommon to have a front-end app that also exposes a scope as an API. So you don't need it. We're just doing it for demonstration purposes. Now, app roles. This is for assigning app roles. Custom roles assign permissions to users and apps. There is roles and administrators down here. So this is still in preview features. And then we have owners, which is me. You can add multiple owners to the application. So you might want other people to be able to manage these apps. Usually a team, not just you. You can add a group as well. And then let's go into the weeds. This is where you get the manifest, which is a JSON representation of your app. This is a JSON representation of your app, but it exposes a lot more information than just the basic stuff that we saw in the UI. Now, in an ideal world, we would have a scenario where everything that it's in the manifest, it's also exposed in the UI. We are working on that to make it more accessible. And there are ways to work with a manifest. you can edit it here. So for example, on line 4, I have the access token accepted version. By default, it's null, which means that it uses the V1 version of the tokens. We want usually 2. So if you change that there and save, that automatically updates that to provide version 2 tokens. There are other things in here that you still have to do manually, unfortunately. Now you might see some familiar stuff. Remember how we set up the app permissions for, did we delete that one? Interesting. Did we not delete that expose an API? I want to go back. Oh no, it's still there. I did not delete that, so fine. So in the manifest, you can see that there, which is very similar to what we did in the UI. So that's a direct one-to-one support. You also see the reply URLs and what have you. Require users access. This is for accessing the graph. That's the graph GUID, and that's the scope, which is user.read. Super readable here, right? No. And then in here we have the resource app ID for the other API that we added, and this is its scope. It was like access as user, remember? So if you want to see what that looks like in the UI, if you go into the API permissions, these are the two things that we saw in the manifest. And then you also have some more advanced configurations. You can have SAML information, sign-in URL, which we don't have one. The sign-in audience, the Azure AD my org. And then there is a way to add roles. So you have app roles. So here, that's the big one. When you have to create custom roles for your applications, this is where it happens. So if we go Azure AD App Registration roles, create custom roles. This is not what I wanted. Role permissions. Custom roles for, no. So maybe we'll go app registration manifest roles. So manifest access token. App roles, there you go. So I can copy this one. I can come here. I can go into my roles, which is here. Those app roles, yep. But did I copy the whole thing? I think I copied the whole thing. So I will remove that and add this. And you can have allowed member types. It can be a user or an application. So you can either say these roles are for the user, or you can have roles that are specific to an application. And this is how you edit that information. I know it looks super ugly and it's prone to error. So there are two ways to interact with your app registrations. One is to do it here, which I don't think it's nice. Then you can use the graph, which it's a lot nicer. You can programmatically set these things either via the Graph SDKs or through the Graph Explorer. But if you're doing it programmatically, you ideally want something in code that can run as part of your DevOps solution or your app registration deployment. And finally, we are working on exposing that information to the UI. In fact, we did a stream where we announced it initially, that it came out as a preview and everybody was super excited. We did the stream for an hour, and then within 4 hours, that feature was taken down because there were some implementation issues that we saw some bugs. So we're still waiting for that to come out. But for now, you have to use the manifest to add custom roles to your applications. And this will be propagated down to your tokens. So once you get an ID token, you can also have your roles in there. It will say what the user can do within the application and not just who they are, which is different to access tokens, right? Roles will allow you to configure what the user can do within the app that you're using. So this is something you can interact with. Unlike access tokens that your application needs to acquire and pass downstream to another API so that they can access that API. And then the API is responsible to use that information to tell what the user can or cannot do. So this is a quick tour. A couple of the things that we did not touch. So integration assistant, it is fantastic if you are using it. So here you come to, in effect, if things are not working, it will tell you what is happening. So let's say we have a web app, if I remember correctly. And yes, it is calling an API. You can say here, and then you can say evaluate my app registration. So as you can see here, configure redirect URI, we've done that. Ensure all redirect URIs use HTTPS scheme. Yes, they do. You can, in fact, use HTTP, but only for localhost and only for testing. You cannot use HTTPS outside your local environment. So you cannot use HTTP outside your local environment. Everything has to be HTTPS. Configure API permissions correct. If using the hybrid flow, enable ID tokens in the implicit grant flow. You know what? I am a little bit torn about that because first of all, there's no hybrid flow. There's implicit and auth code flow, and people will probably from the division will come and shoot me for this. And I would urge you to use the options when you configure your authentication in Microsoft Addend.web to say that you're going to use code flow and not the implicit flow. So please don't use implicit flow. We're still debating about how we're going to message this. Now, what else do we have? Configure a valid credential. We don't have credentials. I think we removed them. So if I were to go back into my credentials, add the secret for now, done, and then come back to my integration assistant and run it again. Summary, edit. Can we do edit? Yeah. Cancel. How do? Oh, refresh. Okay, there you go. Refresh. Oh, there you go. So now that we have the secret, it's happy. See, I can go and fix one at a time. Use certificate credentials instead of a password credential. That's the recommended. That's what I said before, right? And then if you want single sign out, configure a logout URL. We had a whole session about single sign out with our friend Jan. So if you had a chance, go and catch the stream. Should be at the top over there. We talked about how you can do single sign out, which is very important. And if you are looking for single sign out, you need to have a redirect URI, a logout redirect URL. Okay, and assign users that should be able to view and edit the application registration as owners. We already have one. I am the one that did it. Discards configuration, no wildcards. If you're using authorization code flow, disable implicit grants, yes. And do not configure an app ID URI. Yeah, because we are not exposing in our client app an API. So there you have it. That was a tour of the app registrations. And on the next, on our next session, next Tuesday, we will be covering how to take this app registration, add it to your code. We saw a little bit in the beginning, but I did not run the app, so technically it doesn't count. And we'll use different apps. We can use a Node app, we can use a .NET client, maybe we'll do something with Blazor as well, and a console, just to show you how different implementations of this MSAL library happen across the board. And we'll have different app registrations for these. And we'll take it from there. So we're going to take a very quick break. We're going to come off the Learn TV. So for those of you that are on Learn TV, make sure to switch back to the 4 to 5 show, ek.ms/4 to 5 show. And we'll kick off the show with our guests. So stay tuned and I will see you very, very soon. Thank you, everyone. are back, friends. How are you? How's everyone this morning?
Awesome this afternoon.
Afternoon, evening. Yes. I need to move you guys around. You're one on top of the other. So, well, now we're on our normal 4 to 5 stream, and today I'm fortunate to be joined by two of our team members in the CXP. We've got Stefan and Daniel, and we have Jay Lu, who's PM for the conditional access evaluation team. So we'll start with Jay. Jay, how are you doing, sir?
Pretty good, good, good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I had 1 hour of doing Learn stuff this morning. So we're on Learn TV and we were talking. Hi, all echo from Christos. Is it from me? I think it's from Jay, but I don't know how we can fix that. Jay, you don't have a headset, do you?
I don't.
Okay.
We tried this last time. Works
We
pretty
did
well.
try this time. Okay, so Jay, tell us what you do.
Yeah, my name is Jay Lu. I work in Azure Microsoft Identity. Our team focuses on authentication like MSN, AD, all kind of different accounts that you trying to authenticate to Azure AD to get any kind of resource, access to any kind of resource. For me specifically, I may work on session management. And for this topic, I guess what we're going to talk about is called something continuous access evaluation, which is a new way we're trying to evaluate sessions and terminate sessions and grant access.
Nice. So what is continuous access evaluation?
So I assume most people in this audience knows like the standards today. So standards today is you get an access token like that's for 1 hour alone. So today, pretty much what it means, once every hour your access token is expired. So you will go back to identity provider, like in AAD in this case, to say, hey, my token expired, give me a new access token. In that time, all their policies, whether the user has been revoked or there's any risk additional change, all kind of evaluation happens at 1 hour interval today when the access token expired. So that you can tell that's not a continuous evaluation, right? So what continuous evaluation means, in the future, we don't want to depend on this 1 hour expiration time to evaluate a policy or the critical events. What we want to do is be able to constantly, continuously evaluation all your conditions or your policies, so that if there's any critical events, well, for example, this user is being revoked, they change their password, or your risk is changed to high, we should be able to revoke this user instantly rather than waiting for 1 hour later until the token expired. That's high level what it means for continuous access evaluation.
I see. And you have a demo for us, right?
Yeah, we can do a quick demo.
Okay. Let's, in fact, let's hide for a second. Let's hide Stefan and Daniel for a little bit. We'll back so we can see the full demo there. So I'm going to. Okay.
Yeah, we can go. So basically, we start with setting in some of the conditional access policies. So you can see here, I choose a specific user groups that is only one user that we're trying to apply this policy to. And then, later on, this is just the policy name. This is the user. So for it's a little blurry for my screen here, but for the access, we say, hey, I want block access, and for this, for locational, we say, hey, I want block anyone besides this IP, and you can see that I'm coming from that IP. So now you can say, hey, I'm logging into this user, I'm coming from this IP. I can do stuff like go to my Word documents, to editing. Yeah, you can see it will be saved successfully. Then later on, I will show you I will be able to write an email, send an email. So all this works perfectly right now. And later on, I'm going to try and switch to a different IP. So you can see, yeah, I'm just trying to show, hey, this is a different IP now. Now if I go back to any Word or my Outlook, this will be blocked instantly, which this will never happen without a continuous access evaluation because the access token is always 1 hour long. So at least this will take 1 hour before your policy kick in and you will be revoked. So that's the beauty of continuous access evaluation.
Nice. Hey, contentful devs have just raided our channel. Thank you for coming, friends. We're talking about continuous access evaluation. We have Jay showing us our demo here. So, Jay, tell us where we are with the state of things. I know that this is still work in progress for ratifying the standard. So, what does that mean for Microsoft and for developers that want to take advantage of this?
So yeah, we are in public preview right now with all the how do I evaluate policies. So basically, any premium customer they will be able to opt in, say, hey, I want a continuous access evaluation, and they can enable for specific users. Right now, it's only so. There's an industry standard called the Continuous Access Evaluation Protocol. So I want to draw a differentiation between Microsoft version of CAE and CAPE. It's a Continuous Access Evaluation Protocol. So Microsoft, we are actually working with a bunch of third-party partners. We're trying to do some POCs. We're working with them, and we are trying to drive and lead the industry standardization. But I do want to call out continuous evaluation CAE implementation of Microsoft right now is not an industry standard. But again, we are trying to influence the standard, but right now that's not standard. So what it means, we do allow developers, if you are, like for example, you are writing an application that talk to Microsoft resource providers. For example, you talk to EXO, SPO, MS Graph will be supported soon. So if you're writing application talking to Microsoft applications, we will have a guidance coming out soon saying, hey, if you're talking to our resource provider, if you're using MSAL, there's only limited things, like small changes you need to make before your client can be able to support continuous access evaluation and benefits from it. If you're a developer for like a resource provider, like for example, you're working for Box or you're your own resource provider, that we're still waiting for the industry standards. But again, like I said, Microsoft is working with a bunch of partners right now. We're trying to do a bunch of POCs to prove how it most going to work in the future. And once we standardize, then we will, I guess that's the time for all the third-party providers will be able to join the standard and make your resource provider CAE capable.
Nice. So that means that third-party providers third-party developers can use first-party APIs to leverage continuous access evaluation. And in the future, we should be able to extend that once the standard gets ratified to third-party apps using third-party APIs and using continuous access evaluation to protect tokens and access, right? In the future.
Yeah. So right now, yes. If you're talking about Microsoft implementation, yes, we will have some. We're actually supporting in MSAL, ADA, all kind of Microsoft libraries. So if you're a client using those kind of libraries, there's only like several lines of code change you need to make to pretty much say, hey, I want to leverage this API, right? I want to leverage this ability. In the future, once it's standardized, then there will be a kind of a standard protocol. We will define what events look like between Azure AD and other third-party providers. And then, yeah, it's pretty much in the protocol level. And for example, Box, if they implement that in the future, they will be able to interact with all the clients that support CAE, whether it's whether it's their own application or Microsoft Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So once it's standardized there, the communication between all the different parties should be standardized. Then we should not have to do different work for different workloads.
Nice. That I like. And I'm really excited about CAE because it will solve a lot of problems. What can developers do today, or if people are interested in that, what can they do? I know that Daniel has added the link there to the doc, but is there anything else that developers should be aware of, or how do they get in touch with you if they have any questions?
Yeah, I think there's a, I think you mentioned there's a Slack channel, so feel free to reach out through that channel. And I guess maybe pay a little more attention to our blogs, and we will try to update our public documentation as well. So as long as there's new supporting coming out from Microsoft, we will update there. If there's anything major, we will do a blog announcement, whether it's coming from Alex Simons or Alex Weiner, who is like the security image of our identity, our organization.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, pay attention to anything new come up. And for the industry standards, of course, if there's any progress going, I'm pretty sure we will have some announcement coming from the industry standards effort as well.
Sweet. Thank you so much for coming today. Thanks for telling us about continuous access evaluation. Again, I'm super excited about this feature because I know it's in high demand, and we will see you soon.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
I put a couple of links into the chat. First, how to make your client apps to Exchange and SharePoint in CAUA. You can basically ask for a couple of claims and it will just work. That's the first one. Continuous access evaluation and resiliency with Azure AD. That's the first one. And someone asked what's the open standard. It's Shared Signals working group. And CAPE is part of the Shared Signals working group. Also put a link in there because me and Jay, we've been working on this one for the past, 2 years, right? Something like that. So it's CA is near and dear to my heart.
Well, thank you, Jay. We will definitely have you back to talk about more once we have some development and we have more features to talk about. So have a lovely day, and we'll speak soon.
All right, thank you. Goodbye.
Bye. Okay, just the three of us now. How about that?
I love CAE, dude. It's so awesome.
I know, isn't it, right?
I'm just so happy that we are killing off token lifetimes.
Yes,
Putting a bullet in
really.
its head so quickly. The day cannot come sooner when we shouldn't care about tokens. I know you did so many sessions on tokens and stuff, but it's just we need to kill those bastards.
We need, yes. And I know like a lot of people are actually keen in getting started with continuous access evaluation. It's just sad that the ratifying the standard is so slow and it takes so much time. But
I think that's the problem with every standard, right? Before they actually go out of draft,
So the problem with CAPE specifically is no one has implemented it. Microsoft is literally the first real-life implementation of CAPE on the planet. We're just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. So hopefully it will stick.
we are innovators, in other words, right?
Yes, cutting edge.
Cutting edge.
Definitely.
So I was talking to Jay before we started that with yesterday's snafu on AAD,
Yes.
CAE sessions were unaffected. It just worked. My Teams just worked. My Outlook just worked because my session was long-lived because of CAE.
There you have it. CAE is the way to be. Now, people have not seen you. Oh, look at that. I can't believe that you're wearing our t-shirt. Aha!
Totally prepared. I'm now fully into it. So
So we need to get Daniel. We need to get Daniel there as well. Sorry,
I
Daniel.
think Daniel already got a tattoo, right?
You do?
I have only one tattoo. So me and my wife,
Yeah.
we got matching tattoos on our ring fingers.
How
So-
much
that's
did
awesome.
that hurt, man? Honestly.
Oh, dude, I changed colors so many times. I was green, purple, white, pink. It hurt like hell.
Like there are some places that do not or should not get tattoos.
Nope.
And
This
like,
one, it hurt a lot.
there you go. I mean, I am a goose. I would never ever get a tattoo because first I'm afraid of needles, and second I don't like to
Same.
inflict pain to myself for something that I might regret later. Like, what happens if I change my mind? I mean, it can be a tiny dot, right? You can make something in the back and nobody can see it.
Tattoos
But
have, yeah. Tattoos have one significant downside. If you have them, you're not allowed to get into hot springs in Japan.
That's true. Yeah, but I heard there are a few exceptions.
Yeah, these are Yakuza hot springs because only Yakuza people are allowed to get into hot springs that allow tattoos.
I was actually about to say that tattoo thing on your ring finger with the wedding stuff could be a great idea for me, because I actually the guy that lost my wedding ring 3 times.
3? I lost it once, and I live to tell the story. I don't think I can survive the second time.
I can tell you the first time, which was the real wedding ring, I lost it in a ball pit. And then the second one, then my wife and I decided, like, let's not go with a very expensive one. So we actually ordered rings off of AliExpress. And not kidding, they were €1.50 a piece. But they look awesome.
Such a gentleman. You're such a gentleman. Every woman will be lucky to have you. There you go, $1.50 for your for a wedding ring.
Next to that, I'm such a sweet guy. So
these are Tiffany's. If I lose this one, I'm doing an insurance claim.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that was the first. The first one was like gold, silver, gold. How do you call it? Type of thing. So that was the expensive one. And actually, it was at a party which had a ball pit, and then me and the rest of the party started searching for the ring in the ball pit for almost 2 hours. Didn't find it, so I'm not sure. Maybe someone took it home as a souvenir or something. Yeah, no.
Getting into a ball pit, dude. I'm not a germaphobe, but getting into a ball pit.
So maybe this we can elaborate on this story another time on the topic. But
so that's a good intro for us, right, Christos?
I mean, there couldn't be a better segue into what you'll be doing over the next few weeks or months. Do you want to tell us what you'll be doing? Because our audience would love to hear.
Sure. Yeah. So watching the show, seeing the interaction with the audience, and seeing what effect it has on developers and getting them excited about the stuff we're doing, we were like, we should also get the IT pros excited about the stuff that we're doing, and we should enable the community and get together with the community and do this fun stuff with them. So next week on Wednesday, 8 a.m. PST, which is funny, because the first version, Daniel and I were talking about that, because it's 8 a.m. PST, but it's 4 p.m. CET. I'm in the Netherlands, so that's my local time zone. But the week after, it's going to be 5 p.m. CET, but still 8 a.m. PDT. So I'm not sure if anyone still follows, but the US time zone stay the same. Europe will switch, and that's all because of that stupid dilate.
I have a solution for that problem. I have a solution for that problem. Just follow Stefan on Twitter.
I will. I will post about it when we're going live. Of course, you get a push notification. We will be on this channel, and developers here, don't be scared. Because I'm pretty sure you're gonna like what we're gonna do as well, and it's gonna be relevant as well. So that's going to be once a week on Wednesday. Me and Daniel. It's going to be fun. Daniel, maybe you want to talk a little bit about what we're gonna start with next week.
So next week we're going to start from scratch. We will start from 0, and we will create a brand new tenant, hybridize it with Active Directory Azure AD Connect, and we'll basically go deep into AD Connect from scratch. Because Stefan is the entertaining one, I'm the nerd.
So you're the brains, he's the humor.
No, I'm the nerd that goes into tangents and corner cases. So we'll be starting from scratch, creating a brand new tenant, connecting it to your on-prem, because we don't live with a head in the clouds and everything. So we would try to replicate an environment when you have to work with for your employer, and they ask you to create an app in your tenant. We would love for you folks to know about how that tenant was created. Was it for Office 365? How is it broken? Then we will break that tenant and make Christos and JP create an app on that tenant.
Yeah, and then they should try to get their into their app to get it working, and
Yes.
we
will slap so many conditional access policies on it that it will be so hard for you, because most enterprise ITs will enforce everything, which we see in MSIT internally as well. So.
And maybe there's going to be a little dress up stuff, or Daniel acting like the
developer
security the security guy. No, the security guy in this case. No.
We have too much respect for developers.
Yes,
At the
definitely.
end of the day, we know that that's where the real money is made. We are just too dumb to be software engineers.
I don't want to quote anyone, but developers.
Oh, come on. I met Steve on multiple occasions. I love Steve on a personal level. I'm embracing my inner Steve.
Wait, how long have
Nice.
how long have you been with Microsoft?
9 years?
9.
7.
7. I'm the noob here. I'm only 5.
Yeah, there
9
you
years.
go.
But like how it go down in twos. It's 9, 7, 5.
Yeah.
But I've been in identity for 10 plus years. I stopped counting after 10. So yeah, thinking about AD and ADFS and all that stuff, and maybe we're gonna talk about that at some point as well. If you want to do like federation and stuff, we have so many ideas. You said like weeks, and then you said months. Mm-hmm. We probably have content for years to cover, and then we have that list. It's digital, but if I would print it, I would definitely require a full pack of paper of the guests that we want to invite. We got so many ideas about people from the community, MVPs, and we want to get people on our show. And we're starting with Azure AD, but Azure AD connects to all kinds of different things. So think about like how do I integrate with other Microsoft stuff, and grabbing an MVP who can help us with that on the show. Those are ideas that we have. So much exciting stuff on the Wednesday version of the 4 to 5 show. Also on the Tuesday and Thursday, or it's also exciting, but.
So the funny thing is, when Christos is not around, I will be cursing.
Remember, we need to keep it safe for work. That's the whole point, because if we keep it safe for work, I mean,
I know,
you can say damn.
I
say dang all the time, but I get stuck all the time. So why not curse? At least I haven't cried on the stream yet. I was watching another stream that got stuck, and it was like somebody was messing with him, saying Dan has only cried 38.6 times on this stream. You get stuck with stuff, and
Daniel, we have a new goal: getting Christos to cry on the stream.
Dude, I will do one thing. I will make him create an app, and then I will apply Intune compliance policy to that app and make him figure it out how to fix it.
I will join my Android phone to that Intune policy, and then I will create a Xamarin app that uses that. There you go.
And then it will ask you to create a work profile, and then you will be done, and you will be mad because your work profile doesn't work with your regular contacts, and then you will throw that phone at the wall, and you will be happier a person.
It doesn't take long or much to make me cry, especially around.
Oh, that's good to know. Good to know.
Especially with identity. I feel so like I've only been in the division for a year, right? And that means that every day I'm learning something new. And I remember walking in. In fact, the first day I joined, I was in Daniel's office. So we were supposed to be co-office buddies.
Yep.
Back in the good old days when we were in the office.
Then, I remember that. Yeah, meeting you there.
Yeah, exactly. It was super weird. Yeah. And everybody said, well, you know what? Daniel is very, very good. Like, if you have any questions, he's the walking, talking Google encyclopedia for identity. And lo and behold, every time I have an issue, I reach out to you guys, and man, you are awesome. But IT Pro staff, or IT or management staff on the Azure AD is definitely a subject that we need to talk about. And I'm curious to see how it's perceived by our audience, what kind of interactions we'll have, how much we can learn from them, and how much they can learn from you. It's going to be exciting.
Definitely.
Yeah, what?
Yep,
for sure.
I think you said wait.
Very excited.
It's like, wait. That's what I'm saying. And you guys are all set up, right? You have your OBS, and you're probably better than me on OBS, because this morning we spent time
Stefan has its own radio station.
He does.
So he's OBSing all the time.
Yeah, I do. I stream OBS from. This is my office. Maybe one time I will stream on the show from my radio studio, which is next door, and you can see that. But yeah, I use OBS there all the time. I already configured it that I will be on the left and Daniel will be on the right.
There you go. So we're all set to go.
Now he has an excuse to expense that Stream Deck.
Exactly.
I'm actually, it's the website is open on my phone. After this one, I'm gonna press that order button and I'm gonna have that Stream Deck. I also want that new Lightning, and I want that fancy green screen that you have as well. That's everything. I'm gonna expense it.
So green screen, the Elgato lights, the Elgato Stream Deck, and they actually just released Elgato strip lights, which are going to go around the. I just got them. In fact, let me get them.
I hear extremely bad things about the Elgato light with the way it disconnects from Wi-Fi all the time. I've heard so many bad things about the Elgato.
Really?
Check this out. So apparently you can control them with your Stream Deck as well. Tan tan tan.
Yeah.
So
I heard. When you were not around, I heard extremely bad things about Elgato lights. How
Really?
it disconnects from Wi-Fi and you have to reset it all the time. And
you mean the big ones, the ones for streaming?
yeah,
No, they've been
You don't have
flawlessly
any-
working
good for
the
you.
last.
Good for you.
Maybe I'm the lucky one. Damn! Now we jinxed it. Now they're going to break for the next stream. You know how it is.
Sean, that's a good idea. Just a tablecloth as a green screen. Yeah, that's a good one.
JP has one that falls from. I think he's hanging from the ceiling, and he pulls it down rather than going up.
Yes.
That was his solution.
It needs to be evenly lit. That's the problem. It has to be evenly lit so the chroma key kicks in.
Yeah,
it's
that's
fine.
Christos, you had a funky experience earlier during the show, right?
Yeah,
with the green screen and the
sun was
reflection.
hitting it on the side here, and
Yeah.
I mean I could have actually set the blinds, but I was doing the learn stream. I didn't want to get up. In other words, I was lazy.
But of course, Daniel and I, we can start without all that fancy stuff, and we can just go on there. It's all about content, right?
Exactly. It's all about people
There you
seeing
go.
you and learning from you. Forget all the
Exactly.
fancy content.
Yeah, and Daniel getting his own jingle. I'm still thinking about
What?
I'm thinking about getting Daniel a visual jingle, and then every time he's about to speak, I'm gonna push that button on that Stream Deck and put a jingle in with all
It
kinds
has
of.
to be some kind of Looney Tunes thing, like
Yeah,
Elmer
yeah,
Fudd
yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Be
Oh,
very,
yeah.
very quiet.
Yeah.
I'm counting a rabbit.
And
This is
we will-
recorded, right? I can use this. What you just said.
Yeah, he just admitted it. It will be recorded. Also,
Nice.
music. You can find music. You have jingles. You can use Stream Deck and soundboard to make sounds. Just don't use copyrighted sounds.
No,
because-
definitely not.
We got dinked by that by YouTube. They were like, "Oh, you're using the Jeopardy sound, so we're
Oh, I
gonna,
heard that.
Oh,
we're gonna
yeah.
flag that video." So I had to go and cut it
Yeah.
out.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure not to do that. I actually got access to a database of Microsoft copyright-free approved
Yes.
sounds,
Perfect.
so I'm going to use that. Cool.
Okay, we have
Exciting.
everything we need, right? So next
Yes.
week, next Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, you guys are gonna rock your first episode, and it's gonna be all
Definitely.
about IT pros and how to do security from the other side of the fence. We're in the same team, obviously, but it's usually developers and IT pros and having to fight it in between. Now we're gonna be working together to make our solutions more secure, which is super exciting.
Exactly. Awesome.
Perfect.
Looking forward, and yep,
Same time,
On
same
Wednesday
place,
next week.
and Wednesdays
Yep.
now. What else do
Yep.
you want, people? More shows.
there you go.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Have a lovely day. We're going to stop here, and then we'll see you all on Friday. Let me see what we have on Friday. It's going to be an exciting Friday, I think. We have... Is it exciting before even reading what we have? We have Jimmy Bogart coming. If you know Jimmy, he's fantastic. If you don't know Jimmy, he's even better when you see him. He's going to be talking about distributed tracing, open telemetry, domain-driven development, best practices. And we also have Alison Amaro from the App Registration team to talk to us about the new features that are landing to App Registrations. So a packed session again, interesting guests, and next week is even going to be better with Daniel and Stefan coming to do their thing. So exciting stuff. Join us on Friday. In the meantime, have a lovely week, and we'll speak soon. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Stay safe, y'all.